Oh, this is going to be a good show today.
Yes, sir.
Oh, this is going to be nice. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 43 of The Ultimate Pill. Thank you so much for hanging out with us two knuckleheads. Guns out, suns out today, brother.
It's late October, bro. We're going to cut off.
Guns out, suns out.
Man. It's that type of day.
You just got to let it loose every day. What's going on, y'all? Let this rip a little bit more, man. Come on, y'all, get in the mood, man. We about to have a fun day today. We're going to be talking about mindsets. We're going to be talking about imagination. We're going to be talking about beliefs. We're going to be talking about the interface between self and self. We're going to be talking about following our passions. We're going to be talking about being motivated. We're going to be talking about being inspired. We're going to be talking about getting the best out of other people.
He's spitting right now.
Man, we're going to be talking about getting out there and doing what we can. We're going to be talking about getting all we got. We're going to be talking about it all on episode 43 of the Ultimate Pill Podcast, and we're so glad you're here. It's going to be a little bit more upbeat today. It's going to be a little bit more firecracking. The last few shows, we've been spiritual. Ooh, we were spiritual.
Yeah.
Deep.
Real deep.
But today, let's bring it out, and let's infuse the two, man.
Yeah.
And let's talk about what it takes to be high-performing individuals while at the same time living that spiritual warrior lifestyle, man. And
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm excited because I think there's a chance with where you're at, and I don't even know where you're at yet, but there's still, from the hints you've given me, for us to take some of those spiritual principles, those philosophical, metaphysical ideas we've been covering the past really 4 episodes, and put some action to it, pave some avenues for how to act.
For sure.
So
for sure.
I'm
and
all
the work you've been doing and all the work that I've been doing, it's going to combine today. Man, rip it up again. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go, y'all. The time is now. No more playing games, bro. No more games. It's time to get real. It's time to be authentic. And it's time to make this happen.
Yes, sir. How do you come down from that? Tame Impala, man.
That was dope. Hey, I'm going to speak it into existence, man. I'm going to say it right now. Shout out to Plowden.
Yeah. Kruma.
Kruma?
That's his artist name.
Send it.
Kruma.
Shout out to Kruma, man. We're legit getting real serious about this, and we're catching on that, we need to have something for ourselves to where YouTube doesn't hit us with that copyright stuff again.
Yeah.
They hit us with it, bro. And we get it, and we understood that. So, hey, we haven't even asked him yet, y'all, but we're asking him right now. We're going to talk to him before he hears this, but I want him to, we'll say, hey, check out real quick episode 43 and just see what we did to start it, Kruma, because we want you to make us something that meshes with both Anthony and I's personalities, and that's just going to be our show intro moving forward, man.
Yeah, just have a solid intro, and then we can update it as we go.
Exactly.
He's always cooking, bro.
And
he's always cooking.
He could cook something up. He can cook up several, and we just have a little menu.
Good. Yeah.
A little menu. Hey, how you feeling today? Man, I'm feeling deep.
Yep.
Ooh, we need that one then.
Yeah.
Or man, I'm feeling like I am today, freaking fired up. Oh, we need that one. You know what I'm saying? So maybe we can ask him to make like 5.
Yeah, that's good.
5 solid intros that we could use, and we won't get hit with that copyright stuff anymore.
For sure. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Original content. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. No, that'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah, man.
Moving forward.
So, been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Been a couple weeks. How you been?
Been good.
Cool.
Been good. Just busy with work and then learning. You know me.
Cool.
knocking down a lot of books right now. So
cool. That's awesome. A lot of the stuff I've been coming from is, it all boils down to learning.
Yeah.
Like legit to learning. Like when everything you're doing becomes, the meaning behind it becomes very like growth and development oriented, but all motivated around the idea of just learning, growing, understanding that our efforts can always cultivate our abilities. Like, it's been huge. So to hear you say that you're learning, and I know that you're a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
And for the record, like the science says, like if you are a continuous learner, like you will live longer.
Yeah.
Because you're just continuously challenging yourself. You're in love with the challenge of becoming more, doing more, seeing more, being more. So, I mean, I'll get into that. Like I got 3 pretty solid things that can actually expand the lifespan now.
Cool.
Learning's one of them.
Nice.
But we'll get into it.
That makes sense. I think that checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel like I'm in a really cool place for me personally. Like things, I don't know. It's like where I'm at now and what I'm learning about and what I'm challenging myself with. It's always, the pieces have always been there. So it's actually more euphoric feeling, like it's like, oh dude, like everything's starting to align. And I'm at a place where I have a ground of understanding of things I've tried to touch before and couldn't grasp. Or things that I was reading at for maybe, I don't even know why I was led to some of the stuff the first time and didn't understand why I was led to it and didn't get anything out of it. And now I'm coming back to it and realizing, oh my God, like it's a whole new perspective.
Cool.
So really the past 2 months, man, my whole, like, my whole metaphysical outlook towards reality, but also just my whole perspective has changed. And so it's cool to see like knowledge that I've been chasing after, but seen in a new light.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I'm very similar for me too, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm going back to a lot of the stuff that I've researched and read prior, but now like reading it and researching again, like in a new light, it's kind of weird. Like it hits different.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
That's something the kids say now. Hits different.
Oh yeah.
That hits different. DP says that all the time.
Love that kid,
Hits
dude.
different. Yeah.
I'm actually, that dude, I got some slack, man, for that whole pride versus proud thing that we riffed on.
Yeah.
During 42, like people were like, dude, it's okay to be prideful. Like I had to actually explain that through a couple times.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought we did a good job of.
No, we did, and we did a great job in distinctioning between being the emotional state pride and then being proud.
Yeah.
And like how to be proud. And what we landed on was gratitude. Remember, like
Right,
we're
right.
gratitude for the effort that the individual put in
Right.
to achieve that achievement. But yeah, man, and it wasn't like a negative like type of conversation, but a couple of times I had to be like, I mean, pride is not, again, it's not a good emotional state, man.
Right.
Like you are fighting against the world in that state. So, but yeah, I want to go back to DP. Like I am proud of him.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I feel like he's made advances in his character.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. Don't know if he listens or not, but either way, he knows it already.
Yeah. For sure.
I'm right. Every Friday night, dude, I'm right next to him during the anthem.
Yeah.
And I put my arm around him, and it's just a good vibe, man.
That's cool.
It's just a good vibe.
No, I agree.
I remember him in literally 7th grade, man. I remember DP in because he's a junior, right?
Senior.
So 8th grade then.
Okay.
So I remember DP in 8th grade, and he always used to come up to me and be like, "Oh, coach, you're getting taller." I never knew what he meant by it, but it was just like a thing he would say, and like literally to this day, I'd be like, "Hey, am I getting taller, bro?" He's like, "A little bit." So I still don't know what it means, but it's like
He's
a thing.
goofy, man. He's
It's
messing with you.
It's a thing between him and I, but yeah, solid dudes, man. Just like all those cats, man.
Yeah.
Regardless of the end state of wins and losses, man. Like love that group.
For sure.
Feel like there's a lot of good kids on there. Was real proud of Micah. Like I saw him for the first time last night, like being very vocal.
That's cool.
As a leader.
Yeah.
Shot him a text on Thursday. Straight up said, "Why do you play football, man?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then his mother told me that he started playing at 5. So my response to him was, remember why the 5-year-old Micah began to play football.
That's cool. That's good.
Yeah. So
It's powerful.
yeah. So it was cool, man. But yeah, we're right here. Just so you guys know, we're talking about the football team that Anthony's a head coach for, varsity football team. We hang out every Friday night. Something I really look forward to. So yeah.
Yeah.
Good kids, y'all. Good kids.
For sure.
Good kids.
Good kids. Yeah, no doubt. And it's been cool to have you in that relationship and how you can help them
I love
in that
it.
way, bro. I mean, I tell people.
I love being a part of it still, man.
Chris is literally doing therapy with them And they're always like, oh. And I'm like, yeah, but we need it.
Yeah.
Like, we need it. And it's because, and I tell them, we care more about you as people than athletes. And that's the truth.
For sure.
Like you said, wins and losses aside, those don't ever really bother me. It's more about who you're becoming. So.
And that checks out in everything that I'm going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Like
good.
legit checks out.
Good.
Like when people feel like who they're becoming means more than the overall success of the organization, like research screams that those are the most high performing, creative, challenge facing types of organizations.
Yeah.
Screams it, dude.
Yeah.
Screams it.
I mean, imagine a major corporation operating like that. Their output is going to be, it may not be at first, but it's going to be eventually.
Oh, dude, the research says it, y'all.
Yeah.
Like legit, like if you are a leader and you're listening to this and your sole focus is the end state rather than the resources producing that end state, and I'm saying human resources.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, that's something to highly consider, to focusing more on the people and how you're helping them evolve. I mean, I was reading JP the other day and he was saying like, that's power, dude.
Yeah.
Like authority is when you are literally governing them to do a certain task and they're scared if they make mistakes and they're scared to take on challenges and they're in a fixed state. Like he's saying that is authority, but power is you are the type of person that is lifting others up and helping them get to the level that you are at.
That's good.
Dude, that's huge. I'm motivated even saying that.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's cool. Like I like playing on words. Like maybe imagine a human resource department that's how they operated. Like maybe that should be the true intention of a human resources department is like.
It probably was when it started.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Right. And it's kind of come formal, but yeah, that's cool. Yeah, man. I mean, where are you at? Like you have intrigued me with the tidbits of what you've dropped as far as where we want to head with this. And
cool. So
what got you there?
Yeah. So my counseling theory has always been rational emotive behavior, right? Which is heavily focused on beliefs. So I always knew that beliefs was a very important aspect to how people see themselves, right? Because the way we see ourselves will change our realities. The way we see ourselves will change the way that we face things.
Yeah.
So I dove into a little research on it, specifically Carol Dweck, Ali Crum, Andrew Huberman. Like I've been really reading them. Huberman and Crum are from Stanford. Carol Dweck, Stanford and Columbia, I believe, some of her research, but basically, and I can't remember her name right now. Her last name's Garrett, but that was focused on the emotional side of things. But what I've come to figure out and what I've come to learn from them and through their research and through their findings is, first one is that I really enjoy is okay. Let me make sure that I grasp this correctly because this is one of the biggest ones and I want to make sure that it comes out good. So a human being's belief, I digress. Here we go, y'all. That's why I was missing one word. Okay, affect. So I got to talk about that first.
Yeah.
Okay, affect. So affect is our ability to feel.
Yeah.
Okay? So affect is our ability to feel. From that affect, we develop what's called a feeling tone.
Okay.
Okay, so people say, like when you ask someone like how they feel, right? Like what's been very common is they combine emotion and feeling, but they're different. They're entirely different. Okay. Feeling is within and emotional is like the entire context of all.
Right.
The entire concept of all. Like, so.
Is it also an external expression?
So no, so that gets to the outcome, right?
Okay.
Because everything always boils down to the outcome. However you look at it when it comes to like physical reality, right?
Okay.
But affect. So what the researchers said and what they were able to find is that affect comes from the brain's belief about the state of the body. Affect comes from the brain's belief about the state of the body.
Okay.
Okay. So our beliefs, right? Okay. If we empower ourselves with positive beliefs, if we empower ourselves with growth-oriented beliefs, if our belief system is focused on bringing forth the potential of our true self, okay, our affect, our ability to feel will increase, thus creating positive feeling tones.
Okay.
Okay. all metabolic, by the way. So as the brain is telling the body, okay, the belief about the state that it's in, its metabolic state changes.
Yeah.
It tells you how much energy needs to exert. One that I really got such a kick out of is that's why being around challenging people is so hard for us. Because the affect is being influenced by the brain telling the body that it believes it's going to require a ton of energy to be around this person.
Gotcha.
We call them energy drainers for a reason.
Yeah.
Scientifically proven to me now, right?
Yeah.
Super interesting. So I've been able to develop what I call the cycle of emotions now. So it begins with experience. Something happened. From that, you have an affect. Now, in between the experience and the affect is a belief. If that belief is growth oriented, then the affect is going to bring forth the best in you. It's going to bring forth your potential. You're going to face this challenge in a very motivated, empowered way, very courageous. From that affect, you will then get a feeling tone, which makes you feel a certain way to keep moving forward. I almost see it, bro. Like it's almost like the spirit saying, okay, you're in a good place. I'm going to give you good feeling.
Yeah.
It's like nature literally saying, bro, you're on the right track. Okay. Good feeling, good feeling. Okay. From there, okay, you get into the meaning of it. This is another huge one that has helped me a lot. Okay. Emotion comes from the brain, the meaning the brain is putting on an experience. Emotion comes from the meaning that the brain is putting on an experience. Context. Literally, we've been talking about, like when I heard this, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for 40 episodes, context over content. Now it made so much more sense. I'm like, dude, we were right without even knowing we were right.
Right.
Because if meaning and context are the same thing.
Right.
Like the experience, okay, is determined by the meaning that you put on it. Therefore, if you put an empowering meaning on it, a positive meaning to it, the emotion that you're going to receive is a positive state.
Yeah.
Almost again, going back to that life energy, literally telling us you're good.
Right.
You're in a life supportive place. Keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go from feeling tone. Okay. Then it jumps into the meaning. Okay. Then it jumps into the motivation, because meaning and motivation are very equivalent. And then from the motivation gets an outcome, and then it circles back to the experience. It has to start with the experience.
Right.
So the cycle of emotion that I've been able to create for the people that I work with is you have an experience, you have a belief that creates your affect, which creates your feeling tone, which now has to cycle into the meaning that you're placing on that original experience. That'll create a certain motive or a certain level of motivation, which will create an outcome, which will cycle back to experience.
Nice.
And you run through that every day of your life.
Yeah.
One moment after the other.
That's good. I like that. I think that might sound complex to people who are new to this kind of approach.
But it's simple, dude.
Yeah, it is. But
I promise. And we'll break it down, but it's simple.
But I meant more, I guess by complex, I meant more like a multi-layered or multi-step
For sure.
process. That's because I feel like the common belief is that this identification with the content instead of the context of the experience. So we have an experience and we immediately identify with the content of the experience and the emotion that is a response to that. And we identify with that, which we talked about on the show before too. So that seems like you're a circle. A lot of times we just almost like crash through it. Like we don't even take the time to process and differentiate and kind of get that space to work through this whole circle, because we're just crashing through the content of experience that is reality.
Absolutely.
So I like that because that gives you a map to once you've been able to listen to the past few episodes that we've done and realize, okay, there is some separation. I have some control. I have some say and some co-creation in how I'm responding to the experiences of reality, because there is a constant awareness in you always, that infinite I am.
Yes, sir.
Once you have that separation, what you're getting to now is the map. So I really like that. Really quickly, because I'm trying to think of, in the people's listening perspective, because this is something that's really nuanced. Chris said affect with an A.
With an A.
And there's a difference between that and effect.
Yes.
I didn't know if you wanted to.
Let's do that. Okay. So effect is forceful.
Okay.
So if we're talking nonlinear dynamics, right? Mm-hmm. And we're talking we could even bring consciousness research back into this, okay? That's nonlinear dynamics, literally theoretical physics.
Okay.
Okay. If you read Power versus Force from Dr. David Hawkins, that will provide you a lot more context on that idea. But effect is forceful. Okay. That is you seeing the content and forcing yourself onto it and trying to mold it.
Yeah.
Okay. That is not a very productive way of living.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're trying to change things that are essentially unchangeable.
Right.
Okay.
So affect would be more receptive.
Affect would be literally how you are experiencing the experience.
Yeah.
Like what feeling are you capable to feel during a challenge? Mm-hmm. If you can improve your affect through a powerful belief system, then regardless of the content, you don't need to force yourself on it because you know that you are the source of your own experience.
Right.
And you are the power of your own experience. So as you run through that cycle, like we can even use one, let's use an example here, okay? And this was a really cool study they did. They did kids who they continued to give them more challenging questions, and then they watched their responses, right? The ones that had a growth mindset, okay, they took the challenge as something to grow them, mm-hmm. develop them. Here, listen to these words I'm using.
Right. It's more,
them.
Yeah, internal.
It's more, what is this making me?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Where the fixed mindset, okay, because they identified with their fixed states, okay? Fixed states meaning I'm only as smart as I am.
Right.
If the more effort I put in, that just means I'm actually not smart.
Right.
So there were even some kids that answered, like when they were faced with the challenging questions, they said, oh, next time I'll just cheat. Because they were forcing, they felt like they had to force something onto the experience that did not have anything to do with who they were becoming as a person.
Yeah, but that's so good because that's a consequence of limited beliefs.
Absolutely.
It's limited beliefs.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, I see where okay.
Absolutely.
I see why you're hyped up because it takes us back to the foundation of beliefs.
And for the record, like the neurology behind it, like as you take on these challenging experiences in a growth-oriented way with powerful belief systems, with strong positive self-belief, you develop new neural connections. And from that new neural connections, you learn and you understand experience more.
Yeah.
So your brain, and they do brain scans on people facing challenging moments. Mm-hmm. And when the individual has a growth mindset to a stress enhancement mindset, which is another one that I've really been chewing on. I love that. Stress equates to strength. Oh man. Just makes me feel good. And they were talking about Navy SEALs.
Hey, that checks out with strength training though, by the way. I'm a strength coach.
Let's go, dude. Let's go. But they did the study with Navy SEALs and how Navy SEAls were able to leverage their stress. One of the Navy SEAls says there's 3 ways to go about life: on your heels, flat-footed, or leaning forward of center mass.
Yep.
And when you lean into the stress, when you look at this as a challenging opportunity to bring forth your potential,
that's it.
Then you are the power.
Yeah.
You're not forcing nothing out there.
Right.
You're like, all right, this is me. I've got to do what I got to do in this moment to make sure that I perform, I develop, I learn, and then the experience itself becomes meaningful. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think the emotion that's going to derive from that person who is now saying to themselves, this is something that I can take on, I can do this, I'm courageous? What type of emotional state?
Oh, very positive and very energetic.
Cool. And I don't even have to explain the alternative negative one, right?
Right.
But what I'm really excited about today is this all ties into both of our belief systems.
Yeah.
Because to me, like I texted you the other day, I said, this imagination is the interface between self, lowercase s, right? Mm-hmm. And then self, capital S.
Yeah.
But I literally just substituted mindset with imagination.
Yeah.
And you're a filmmaker.
Yeah.
You're an imaginative man. We have now taken my work with mindset, your work with imagination, and on episode 43, let's infuse those, man.
Let's do it. That's good. I mean, I've already seen correlations because, like, part of that whole process that you just described with that map of the circle is going to entail an imagining of who you are, who you want to be, and how you want to respond, the beliefs that are inherent in that.
And what you could be.
For sure. What you could be. So, yeah, I see a ton of correlation there. I mean, and that's all I've been on lately is this imagination. And the fact that we have, like we are all able to have a strong imagination. It's just, like, hearing you talk about the neurophysiological response to this, it's like I immediately started thinking about, like, they talk about the plasticity of the mind, right? And how it's not as rigid as we're led to believe, or even, just going about your day. If you don't study any neuroscience, you just kind of think, I'm set up in my interface the way that I am. It's a lot more plastic and movable and moldable. And so I started thinking about, like, man, part of this is imagining what it could be like, imagining a reality in a person where you aren't so rigid and calcified and responsive and reactive, like breaking down those barriers that you've self-constructed that maybe are tied into an identity. I feel like a lot of times, at least for me personally speaking, like the most reactive times in my life, and I think about with anger, it's because it was tied to this identity that I thought I had to uphold, which I don't anymore. So yeah, there's like, it's like loosening the rigidity and the confines that we put on ourselves to become a little bit more plastic, a little bit more moldable, is going to help you open up to this ability to imagine the how'd you say it? The mindset.
The mindset, yeah.
The mindset that you need to get self versus
absolutely
capital S self.
And I'm going to
Is that where you were going with that?
Yes, and I want to actually ask you a question and to clarify for those listening. So your work has to do a lot with unconscious and to the conscious, right? Okay. When I messaged you with that, I could have very easily substituted lowercase s with unconscious, right?
Yeah.
Because when we're operating from the unconscious lowercase s, okay, I think the best way to describe it to the listeners is you're just you're running off programming.
Right.
You're running off the social context. You're running off past experience, okay? And you're running off what people have told you that you are.
Right.
Okay? And then the conscious, right, where you're now bringing into awareness, okay, our ability to be a powerful human being, okay? How can we use imagination to go from this unconscious living of this is who I am, man, this is my life, I just got to get through this, to the conscious lifestyle of, you know what, this is my life, this is my experience, and I'm going to do the absolute most that I can with it. How can imagination be tied into that?
That's a good question. Okay, so I almost feel like, because you're talking about moving up from the unconscious to the conscious in a metacognitive way, which I've used before, and that's really like being conscious of being conscious. That's self-reflection. And that's something that, ironically, is a superpower of ours as humans that not very often gets used unless you're practicing mindfulness, unless you're kind of, you bump up against something in your life that causes you to do that. A lot of times, after an argument with someone significant or whatever, or trouble at work, like it's in that time of reflection where you calm down and you get away from it. That's when that self-reflection happens. Now, what we're hearkening to is like trying to be at that level all the time, like in this metacognitive, self-reflective way, because there is superpowers there. But so we're talking about moving up there, but then I almost feel like to answer your question, how can the imagination help us with that process? You have to go back down and realize, back down to the unconscious. Because to me, the imagination, let me go off on this a little bit. Like,
send it.
It's its own world.
Okay.
And it's the world behind this world.
Okay.
And we have our creative imagination, our active imagination, which is, I don't think there's any coincidence, and everything I've been studying talks about active imagination. And that's what Jung separately, didn't read these people, came up with for the term that he used to dive into the collective unconscious, when he would sit at his desk and meditate basically and go down into the depths and converse with the archetypal figures there. He called that active imagination. Like, that's literally an ability we have. and he was using it as where I'm going with this is to go back down into the subconscious and realize the infinite amount of potentials there, that within you is a universe. Within you is this imaginal realm. And I loved how when you texted me this self versus capital S self, because to me, and something I've been big on with the imagination is this mirror principle. And we've said it different ways, but ultimately what it is as a man is, so he sees. And the world is going to reflect back to you what you're presenting to it.
Absolutely.
It's this mirror principle, this mirror idea. And so, man, it's like, they're not two separate things because they're actually united. Like you can't say, well, I'm just going to focus on the external issues to try to solve those. You can't just say, I'm going to focus on the internal. It's this back and forth correlative intersection that is constantly connected and reflecting each other. And so the imagination, one, helps, like I was mentioning, helps loosen that hardness and this calcification that we put around who we think we are.
Yes.
But then also it's the organ, the sense organ inside of us. I don't know where it's at. It's either in the head or the heart that allows us to have a perception of the infinite potentialities inside the subconscious. And the reason why I bring that up is because once you get down there and realize it, it's like the episode we've done on realizing the infinite I am, that this constant awareness behind the ego that you think is you, the identity of your name, that's your ego. And behind that is this ever-present, constantly aware, peaceful awareness. You can't even call it an entity. It's an awareness.
Absolutely.
And in the same way, using imagination to go back down to the subconscious and realize, oh my God, there is a universe down here. There's a world down here. There's an infinite amount of potentials. And then you can also do that with the imagination outward into the external world. Again, using this mirror principle. The inner reflects the outer and the outer reflects the inner, and realize, oh my God, there's an infinite amount of potentials out in reality. And then what's really cool and self-empowering is that sense organ, the imagination, that first of all lets you perceive this concept, this loosening, this opening it up, this broadening of horizons, is also the very organ through the act of imagination that allows you to co-create in that process. Because once you've realized this openness, this interactiveness, this mirror principle, the outer reflects the inner, and you can start tapping into that imaginative power that we have as humans in a metacognitive way. That's not just reactive. It's not just animalistic. You can start to co-create the reality around you. It's really empowering. This isn't The Secret. It's not about the law of attraction. It's about seeing reality for what it really is, and seeing who you are for who you really are. And that's a very spiritual, metaphysical approach to what you said and what you've fleshed out in that circle and that map. I keep looking at it as a map.
It is.
Is that process. Exactly. It's a very practical way to do that.
I couldn't wait to be able to tell you that, bro. Like, do you not think that you have to have a very creative imagination to change these core beliefs that have been rutted? And I use that word rutted, like when I envision a mind and its beliefs, right? I literally picture like dug up
deep
dirt,
right?
And the water's just flowing through that channel.
Yeah.
Like that is legit how I envision it. But the more you imagine what you could be based off some of those empowering beliefs that you're attempting to develop for yourself, you little by little start doing the inner work, right? Which is, let me start building a dam up. Because they're not going to go away.
Yeah.
Like they're there, then they will always be there. And that's why this work that you do is so powerful with the unconscious. Like they'll always be there. Okay. But the more we build up a dam while at the same time doing the effort to dig, that's that outer work, right? Like I got this new internal belief system that is now putting up a dam on the limiting one that I've had for years about myself.
Yes.
And the outer work, the connection that you're talking to me about right now with the inner reality and the outer reality, the connection begins with you carving out a new path.
Yes.
And then once you've put a dam up on the old one and you've carved out a new one, you now have a new belief.
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, like that requires an active imagination.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to be able to imagine your potential. That is vision.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is vision.
It's envisioning.
Yeah, there you go.
Envisioning.
And the envisioning is putting up the dam.
Yeah.
The vision is carving out the new path,
For
bro.
sure. And I love that metaphor. And I want to put a footnote to it because that's definitely an active, what you just described as an active way to create new channels. And then I start thinking about riverbeds.
Okay.
And looking at, I like to get into geography when I get into like ancient history and stuff because you can see how things have changed. And you can see sometimes like time lapses of the changing of riverbeds.
Okay.
And how they change. Well, how they change most often is by flooding. So you're talking about an active digging and damming, and that's great. I love that. And there's also, through the active imagination, what is constantly symbolized by water. It's the unconscious,
Right.
which I tie in with this imaginal world of potential, the imaginal world, the mundus imaginalis. It's always symbolized by the ocean and the water and the depths of the sea. And so I wouldn't say passive, it's more of a opening. You open the floodgates, bro. You by loosening these confines that we've created on ourselves in our inherited beliefs. By starting to loosen that up, by starting to loosen up the concept of who you are as a person, you start to open those floodgates, bro. The floodgates of imagination. And that riverbed that was stuck in this channel and rutted in, like you said, I love that metaphor, starts to get flooded over, risen to the top. It's not solely now alone in that riverbed. It's flooding that land. And what it does is it starts to move that riverbed. So not only can we do the active version of what you said, that envisioning where we're damming stuff up, we're damming up an old belief and paving and digging out a new way, but we can also open up the floodgates if we need to. And that's what the subconscious does.
That's awesome.
That subconscious potential, the potentials of the imaginal world, and looking at that hermeneutics of reality, and looking at reality as a book and saying, how am I interpreting this? And how is that interpretation affecting me?
Wow.
And when you can open that up and say, I don't have to, why when you realize like, oh, I've been interpreting the world as like this like evil place that wants to put me down. I'm constantly the victim. And then you start to like question your beliefs.
Absolutely.
And then you realize, oh wait, I inherited that from my parents, or I inherited that from media. And it's like, well, that was one way to interpret the text. And now you can look at the text of reality and say, maybe there's other ways, and there are. And then it's like, well, what would happen if I interpreted this way? And and now you're opening those floodgates and you're creating new riverbeds. That's a great metaphor, bro. I hope that made sense. But
it made a ton of sense. And the interpretation you're describing is putting a new meaning on it.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so you're so big on beliefs, and I've been recently too, because here's something that I learned. Like, this was really crazy to me. When I got into metaphysical idealism, the core tenet basically is that everything is consciousness. It's not panpsychism where everything, like literally atoms are conscious. It's that atoms are the physical representation of a giant mind at large.
I love that.
That is conscious. Okay. So there's a very minute, finite difference there. It's not panpsychism, because panpsychism has its own issues. But when metaphysical idealism opened up my floodgates, bro, and to reality and myself. And one of the things that it showed was that when we step out into reality, okay, keep in mind that reality in the world around us is a physical expression, a physical activity of consciousness at large, the mind at large, the universe, the being, God, whatever you want to call it. The next question that I came to was, well, why is it the way it is? And the reason why I got there was because metaphysical idealism led me to a hermeneutics of life. It said, okay, if everything's consciousness, then you should start looking at reality and being like, okay, what does it mean that the sun is up right now and it's rising in the east, and okay, it sets in the west? Like, what does that mean? What's the meaning of it? What does it mean? And what does it mean that the moon's up? You know, and all these stars, like we're surrounded by this dazzling, brilliant artwork at night. At the darkest moment of our day, we're reminded of this beautiful artwork. It looks like the artwork of a god.
Absolutely.
What does it mean? And you start to realize that it looks the way it does and the moon looks the way it does, the sun appears the way it does, this world appears the way it does, because all of us are tapped in and into inherited beliefs that the sun will rise in the east and look like that. You get where I'm going with this?
Absolutely.
And so where I've been trying to get behind that, and it's super hard, because you're talking about beliefs of like the individual, and I love that. I'm talking about like almost like cultural, genetic, human beliefs.
Well, that's what makes the ultimate pill what it is.
Yeah. I go there and you're here.
We said that already. You're
Yeah.
the terrain and I'm the map.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Like, don't forget that one,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
That was huge when you said
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So keep rolling, bro.
Yeah, I just want to see where you, like, what this sparks in you, because, like, that's what I've been trying to get behind. And it's super tough because, like, we're almost born automatically with these beliefs. And it's the belief behind physical science, physical reality. Like, and I know that's the case because science at its furthest extremes right now in the quantum mechanics is, like, destroying those beliefs. Don Hoffman, look him up. He's like, space-time's dead. All the cutting edge scientists are telling us space-time is dead, bro. You can do a lot better physics in a lot shorter time if you take out space and time. Don't get them started on gravity. Okay, but then you're like, well, but I live in a world confined by gravity. I am confined by space and time. Time, I have no control over it, right? But then what metaphysical idealism is saying was that's a consequence of your beliefs. And it's like, how do you get behind the beliefs of physical reality? And I'm where I've landed is imagination, and using the active imagination, the sense organ that is, to get into what I said, and that might sound weird, but this imaginal world behind reality. It's where the real becomes a little bit more spiritual, and the spiritual becomes a little bit more real.
That's beautiful. So what I'm thinking is, I believing more in potential rather than the actual.
Thank you. Hell yes.
That's what I picked up off all that, is believing more in the potential rather than the actual, which checks back to my theory too.
Yeah.
Because
spit it.
the whole cycle itself, literally the one belief that like is going to drive my practice is your abilities can be cultivated through your efforts. That is more focused on the potential.
Right.
That is not focused on the results. That is not focused on what you identify with.
Yep.
Like when you were talking earlier about that scene of, you have this one path and you're identified with it, and that's everything that you are. Like, I kept thinking ego, because I kept thinking like, dude, if you have this one path, like, you are going to be afraid, okay, to be exposed and to show your vulnerabilities. And that's a very egoic state.
Absolutely.
But I started thinking, when you let that flood happen and you open the gates to your own potential and really start diving deep into self-knowledge and understanding your truth, then you become flooded and you start thinking, man, what could I become if I just started to believe that I can?
Right.
And that's more devoted to potentiality rather than actuality.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
If you're devoted to this out here, man,
the actual,
yes, like you cannot like control that.
I'm so glad you went there. One, I want to say, and this isn't like a egoic boost of me. I don't know when it happened, but I've always inherently believed like whatever I set my mind to, I can do. And I'll give you an example. And that wasn't like a prideful, egoistic, like I just believe that. It was learned through experience. So for example, like I got into guitar, like I played electric guitar in middle school, and I was getting really good at it. And because I would just do it every day. And it was like, I was never going to be, I don't know, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
But 10, 20 years, if I stuck with it for 10 or 20 years, maybe, and so like, okay, but then I lost interest in it. Okay. Same thing with drawing. I still draw to like, but like I was really big into art, like the actual like study of art and making art a profession. And like I was in AP Art 4 in my senior year of high school.
Wow.
Like I'm playing football and I'm in AP Art, Advanced Placement Art, where we're competing against people in Texas. Like I was doing like hardcore oil paintings.
Wow.
Like
I did not know that, dude.
Yeah. And that was another thing that was like, the more I keep doing it and setting my mind to it, and then you look up and a year or two has gone by, it's like, dude, I could be really good at this.
For sure.
If I just stuck with it.
For sure.
But I didn't. Same thing with film. You know, it's like, I can look back at all my films. I was thinking about this, and I've made some really crappy films. But what I can see is each one always keeps getting better. And it's like, that's why I'm always excited for the next project. It's like, okay, I just keep getting a little bit better. So again, it was not to boost me, but it's to back what you just said.
Absolutely.
This belief in the potential versus the actual. I mean, how many people give up on stuff because they're like, well, I'm just never, you know, they're looking at the actual, and it's like, I'm not good at it right now, so I'm never going to be good at it.
Right.
That's the actual, focusing on the actual.
Right.
I was not good at guitar when I first picked it up.
Right.
But I loved guitar. I thought I wanted to be a musician, bro. Like I really, at one point thought I was going to be a musician. And I just did it every day. Dude. To the point where it started pissing my dad off. Like, I was playing Metallica down in my room, and he's like, hey, Lars Ulrich, shut up. Like,
well, so I'm going to share with you my goal setting strategy. Okay. Because there certainly is physical limitations, and I'm grateful that you said that, and I'm grateful that we're able to say that to the audience. Like, I'm 38. Like, I can set a goal to become an NFL athlete, but probably not going to happen.
Right.
Actually, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Straight up, right? So, and I'm not going to share the whole strategy, but I'll just share the first two that I do. Is we get so much clarity and identify personal strengths and weaknesses. Personal strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Okay. Common theory is, okay, we've identified the weaknesses. Let's work on those.
Right.
That's not what I do.
No.
At all. Okay. I take those strengths and I ask the person, okay, check this out. Here's your strengths. Okay. We've explored your strengths and weaknesses. Okay. Identify, explore, understand. You know, I love that cycle. Okay. We have completely identified your strengths and weaknesses. We've explored, okay, what makes you think that those are your strengths, what makes you think that those are your weaknesses, and then we understand how we can use those strengths to leverage your weaknesses.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's not focusing on the weakness. It's not always focusing on the problem. It's focusing on the solution. Oh my gosh, dude, especially like at the level that I'm at, like in a school setting, like, don't come to me with a problem without a solution, dude.
Right.
That's complaining.
And anybody can do that. Anybody and everybody does that every day. It's like, like, look around, bro. No matter what field you're in, no matter what job you do, you could be homeless. You could be homeless, right? You have no responsibility other than trying to find your next meal. Like, there's an infinite amount of problems in the world.
Infinite, bro.
So focus. What good does focusing on those do without a solution, like you're saying?
And that's essentially we've all heard SMART goals. We've all heard that: specific, measurable, attainable, relative, and time constraint. I'm like, no, dude. Like, why don't we just identify our strengths and weaknesses, explore them, and then understand how we could utilize our strengths in order to leverage and work on our weaknesses? That is an empowered state.
Yeah.
That is in a growth state. That is in a state of potential.
Yeah.
That is in a mindset and a belief system and a value structure and a meaning that entails everything that you can potentially bring forth in you, while at the same time, being powerful.
Yeah.
Because that's in a state of power, man.
Yeah.
If you are living through your strengths in order to leverage and uptake your weaknesses, you are in a powerful state. If you're focusing on how to make my weaknesses better, like, that's kind of a fixed state, because what you're telling me at that point is who I am is these weaknesses. Okay. Well, that's not a good identity.
Right.
Because then your unconscious is literally it's what we're telling it.
It's limiting.
It's limiting, and that you are a weak person.
Right.
Like, if you're constantly working on your weaknesses,
I'm
telling you, deep down there in the unconscious, like, what it's telling you back is that you're a weak person.
Right.
But if you take these strengths and you just live through these and experience through these, then you're being a very powerful person, and the source is within.
Right.
So
that's good.
Identify your strengths and weaknesses, explore them as to why and how they developed, and more so, be very honest.
Yeah.
This is where humility comes in. And then understand how you can leverage and use your strengths in order to lift up and improve the weaknesses that you may have.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, sometimes if you look at those weaknesses and you say, you know what, like really working on those, like is the freaking, is the juice worth the squeeze? You know, I love that one.
Right.
Is it worth even working on that weakness? Like,
right.
Nah, push that thing aside.
Yeah.
And let go of that negative energy.
Right.
You know, let go of that guilt.
Yeah.
Because every time we're focusing on our weaknesses, dude, we're in a state of guilt and shame.
Right.
Could even be apathy. Oh man, that's not good.
Right.
Like, what's even the point?
Right.
I hear that a lot. What's the point? Like, I can't do this. Well,
exactly.
Dude, I don't know. Like,
what can you do?
What can you do, dude?
Let's do that.
And let's focus.
Yeah.
Let's find out how we can do that.
Yeah. And belief is so wrapped up in that. And I was gonna say, like, maybe we could explore like how belief is either can be a strength, or a gate, or be a gateway to figuring out your strengths. And I say that in looking back and self-reflecting on my life. Like, I have always believed, like I've said on the show and I've told you multiple times, like I've always believed in this mysterious, magical potential of reality in the imagination. I've always been an imaginative kid. And so I look at like my hobbies and interests as I grew up and tried to find myself. Like music, music is, in a lot of ways, when you think about the philosophy of music and the metaphysics of music, like it is like another world. Good music takes you to another place. It takes you, it has mystery. Like a lot of the music I like it puts me in that mode. I don't really know how to describe it other than like, I'm like, somewhere else, bro. Like,
so let me help you with the music one. Is it chaos and order? Is it tapping into that archetypal thing? Because
well, for sure. Yeah.
When you hear good music, it's like, oh wow,
you're on that borderline.
You're on that borderline,
which is the name of the song what we opened up with.
Oh, cool.
Way. Yeah. Synchronicity. But yeah, I think good music puts you on that borderline where it's like just enough chaos and just enough order to start instilling something new in you.
Yeah.
And so there's that side, but then that wasn't enough. And I don't know. I couldn't identify with it. I didn't think being a musician was realistic. And so I shifted to art. And again, in the same way, art does take you, it can literally create worlds we've never seen before. It can also, in its truest sense, it should do this, take the world around us and ennoble it and show you the divinity behind,
I love that.
Things. One of Van Gogh's best paintings is a pair of shoes. It's a pair of worn down shoes. That's it. And it's like, when you look at it, you're like, I don't know, it's mesmerizing, but because he ennobled the shoes.
Yes.
And there's a story behind it. And like I said, I dove into that. But again, my belief was always the foundation of this mystical, magical other world beyond. I knew there was a mystery that I wanted to entail. And all that led me to film, because film for me is all of those things. It is the music. It is the art. It is visual. It's audible. And it can actually physically put you somewhere else for the 2-hour time frame. You go. That's why I love going to the movie theater, because I'll watch movies at home, but like the movie theater is an experience. I'm stepping into either a time machine or a portal right now, and I'm in the movie theater. I'm locked in, bro. Put my phone away. I don't care. I don't want to be distracted, because I'm gonna open myself up to this film and this experience, and I hope it takes me somewhere else. So usually when I'm disappointed in the films, it's like it didn't take me anywhere. It didn't challenge me enough. So that's where I landed. But my point to all that was the belief that I always had, that I always inherited, I think from, I don't know where it came from, but
probably your grandma, dude. Because remember you talked a lot about, didn't grandma like entice you guys to be very imaginative?
For sure. And my grandpa,
and
her
grandpa,
husband. With the knowledge and the reading and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was always a mysterious figure. Yeah, for sure. And my mom too. So yeah, but the belief was always there. So as I was trying to figure out what I'm good at, not focus on my weaknesses, the belief was always like, well, maybe this isn't what you're good at, but let's go back to the belief as a foundation. You believe that there's inherent mystical, magical potential of reality. How can we, what good are you good at that we can express that belief?
Absolutely. And a key one to earmark real quick too is like, at the belief system and mindset that we're currently talking about right now, we are saying that it lives through the idea that those weaknesses can be cultivated and developed through effort.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But
yeah.
But if we're coming at that effort from a strength-based posture, okay, that's where the difference happens.
Yeah.
That's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wanted to earmark that one real quick. But I don't know, it's telling me to share a study that I think will tie this belief and imagination and how the two are literally I think they literally go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because for you to be able to believe something, better about self, like requires the use of imagination, because you have to be able to see something that's not real yet.
For sure.
Or it's real, but it's not real in the external, right?
Well, before you go, I just want to say, because this is a really important point to me. Imagination is not make-believe. It's make-real.
Oh, freaking A, dude.
It's not make-believe. And our common culture thinks,
I'm glad you said that, dude.
oh, imagine you're make-believe. You live in a make-believe world. Your head's in the clouds. No, bro.
I like how you said that, dude.
It's making real. But go on.
That's so...
I want to preface your...
Dude, that was good. That was one of those moments, man, where you say something and I'm like, yes. Yes. It is not make-believe. It's make-real. And let's dive into a study that Dr. Ali Crum did with maids. Okay. So what she wanted to do is to see if just a change in belief has a neurophysiological effect on human beings. And they chose maids for that reason, which I thought was brilliant. Because I was like, yeah, that's a great group to do this study on.
They in that grind, bro. Maids are in that grind.
You're going to love this, dude.
Okay.
You're going to love this, bro. So they asked the maids if they participated in usual physical activity. 70% said no. So the control group became the 30% that said yes, and then the experimental group became the 70 that said no. And all they did was tell that 70% to believe or imagine that the work that they were doing was physical exercise. And wouldn't you know that they weren't doing push-ups in between rooms. They were pushing around carts, making beds, like grinding, dude. Like you said, that is hard work. And at the end of the study, neurophysiologically proven, their blood pressure lowered, their systolic levels, I hope I'm saying that correctly, but just again, the actual like the physiological side behind it, like I didn't pay too much attention to. I was just more focused on the principles and the concepts. Like when I'm reading those studies, like I'm focused on, okay, what is the learning point here, right?
What's the meaning of it?
What's the meaning of it? There you go. Exactly. What's the meaning of it? And the meaning of it, ladies and gentlemen, for me was just by telling them to believe that the daily work that they were doing was physical exercise made them healthier.
Yep. Checks out.
How cool is that?
It's awesome.
So I share that with, you can literally say belief and imagine, and it rings the same bell in my head.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
Rings the same bell, dude.
Yeah, I think they're tied.
You have to be to believe something that is not yet made real. You have to be able to imagine it.
Yeah. And I think part of believing is, people say they believe things all the time, but they act out a different thing. We act out our beliefs. And so part of being able to really believe is to be able to imagine the potential and not the actual. And that I'm happy that I brought that back up, because I did want to dive into that. I'm so glad you said that. Like, it's crazy that you said that, because I've been reading a lot on that. And part of being able to open up yourself to the floodgates of potential in imagination in the subconscious, and flood those dug in tracks that you've created with your beliefs, and create new ones. Part of that is absolutely what you said, not focusing on the actual, and what I see as a corollary to that is not focusing on the objective.
Okay.
Which we've talked about before, like not looking out and seeing objects. Actualized objects. This gets us right back into our episode on idolatry, because objectifying the actual turns them into idols, and they're just this rigid, solid, powerless idols, and then it's a quick step to the belief that this is all inanimate, matter that happened by accident, and same thing with you, and you're down the path to that nihilistic approach to the metaphysics and reality. So we want to not only focus on the potential in us and not the actual in us, but also externally. Again, coming back to that mirror principle of reality, it's going to reflect, you, and the imagination helps us get there. And part of that is, we talked about the hermeneutics of reality, and looking at reality like it's a book and there's a story, and your story is part of that. Like the whole history of humanity for the 300,000 years, I think is the time right now that we've been anatomical modern humans. Stuff keeps getting older, by the way. But that whole story, bro, like think about that. It's like the Iliad is one of the oldest epic poems we have, right? And that's thick. It's thick. But I'm talking about that times 300,000. Like this epic, heroic saga of humanity, in the family of humanity. It's a familial saga in the way that like a lot of the Norse myths were familial. They were familial sagas, Sigurd and Sigrun. Anyway, it'll always be like father, son, father, it goes down the line, bro. And they're all interconnected and it's generational. Like that's the history of humanity. It's this epic generational saga and you're tied into that. And when we look at the hermeneutics of that, it's not so much alone just asking about what does this mean, but who is this? So this is where imagination is key and where I'm changing is not saying, because I mentioned earlier, like what does it mean that the sun is up? It's also about like who is that sun? And I mean this in the sense of the mirror principle, like who is it reflecting back to me and what am I reflecting back to it? Personifying it, but also who is the who behind it? If I'm making sense. If I'm making sense, is that making sense?
It's making sense because that again, and I'm just going to tie it back in because it's all about what you believe about everything that you're just saying right now.
I know. And the imagination is going to help you. If you feel confined, you feel lost, you feel, bogged down by the experiences around you, like getting back in touch with that imaginative power that resides in all of us, bro. Like we really, man, and we could go on for hours about some of the stuff I've been reading, like all the potential stuff that gets knocked off as like woo and sci-fi about the potentials of the human mind. It's real, bro. Like I just read a declassified CIA document. Our government was funding millions of dollars in the 80s to Project Gateway to develop soldiers with psi abilities.
I remember that. I heard about that. Yeah.
Remote viewing, telekinesis, astral body projection. So you think that stuff's new age woo? And it's like for 21 years, they were putting millions of dollars into this program and it had a huge success rate. And I just bring that up as an example to say like the potential, getting back to focusing on the potential, not the actual, there's so much more to us and you.
I'm glad that you just said that.
There's so much more.
That's what I'm so glad you just said that.
And if we
keep going,
I'll finish. Like I feel like we've been reiterating, and it's good because we can't reiterate it enough. Like if you could just get past these limiting beliefs about reality, about yourself, about what is reality, which is a metaphysical question about everything, then you open up those floodgates like we've been talking about, and it's like, God, man, like in that situation when you're on that threshold of like, oh my God, I've just opened up. I've just broadened the horizons of potential and it could be anything. And it's like, that's so exciting. I'm so excited for you. Like in that situation, it's so exciting.
It is.
And then bro, you're tapped into the imagination. It's like, just go imagine what it could be.
And this goes perfect into what came to mind today as I was on my run, man. And so we're talking about beliefs and how beliefs of self and the world itself determine the affect of the body based off what the brain's telling itself, which then leads to our feeling, which then leads to our meaning, motivation, and trails back into experience. And we've said a lot about like actual abilities. You mentioned guitar, right? We could talk podcasting on this. Like our belief in this podcast is that it provides us something very meaningful in our lives. It creates connection between two people, which is extremely important, by the way, y'all.
Right.
Like that's the second of three things that I would say that will keep us young.
Yeah.
It's continuous learning and then social connection. Okay. But as I was running, man, and I was thinking, I was like, hey, like, yeah, there's, you want to work with athletes. Okay. That's a certain domain. And you also want to work with business professionals, certain domain. But what if the belief that your abilities can be cultivated through effort was applied to your life, the actual experience of it.
Yes.
And I think that's where we're going to match right here on these two ideas.
For sure.
Because you were talking about just there's more to you than you could imagine. Like when you say that, dude, I just feel good. I'm like, yeah, dude. Like again, that's experience is what it is. Like, but if I can experience it in a way that I know that I have potential within me to face this and overcome this and become something from this, like it just makes me feel good, right?
Yeah.
But if you take everything I'm doing and everything you're doing and just simply say that I believe that I can cultivate my ability at expressing self in this world, you will go to the end with this freaking, like you will just be fired up to the end.
Yep.
Like you will be living to the last day saying, man, like I am just continuously learning and fortifying a character on a day-to-day basis because that just brings so much darn meaning to my life. And because that's a powerful meaning, we'll continuously live in a positive emotional state. Ladies and gentlemen, back to consciousness.
Yep.
If your consciousness and emotions are literally tied together, if we're in a positive emotional state, that is literally our life energy telling us, good job.
Yeah.
You are supporting life. And for that reason, I am going to increase your levels of happiness. Literally, people who are going through the experience of life at a place of unconditional love, they did a study on it, literally a 99% happiness rating. 99%.
Yeah.
At the bottom of shame, it's like 3%.
Yeah.
And for me, when I think that and I try to make things like very practical, I think in my head, oh, that's literally life. Yeah. Just taking care of life.
Yeah.
It's saying you're doing good. You are evolving life. You are evolving consciousness through the evolution of you.
Yeah, that's good.
So
I like how you're bringing that. It's kind of an evolutionary,
absolutely,
reward system to it. Because
yes,
I've thought about that too. It's like when you start talking about these abilities to imagine and co-create and interpret the world in a hermeneutic way, like I was thinking, I think we were, and then not to even mention what I brought up with Project Gateway and the psi abilities that I absolutely think are real. Mm-hmm. I started thinking, it's like, well, I think we are given these powers for a reason. I think evolutionarily we were giving these powers for a reason, and then I
agree.
I think back to like ancient man who lived in a more metaphorical world, like we've talked about, who didn't idolize things so much, but like language was less, but meaning was more, like, cause things had multiple meanings. And they lived in the imaginal, bro. And we look at that and we get kind of poo-poo on it in our rationalistic, post-enlightenment way. We're like, oh, they believed in spirits in the forest. And it's like, yeah, but imagine like every day and every night you were surrounded by the potentials of this magical, powerful world where literally the tree you could be walking by could be embodied with a tree nymph.
Can I talk about something you said the last episode that I freaking loved? And I looked at all the athletes last night and I was like, I hope they have this belief or imagined state. Maybe that's what we can call it, a belief.
I know where you're going.
Playing D1 football is probably hard.
Yeah.
When you said in that episode that you would imagine every time you were putting on your pads that you were donning the gear of a warrior and you were going into battle, what a powerful belief, dude.
Yeah.
What a freaking powerful belief. Like that probably, and literally I was looking at those kids last night like, I hope, like that's why I say to them all the time now, I'm like, all right, we're going into battle. Let's go. We're going, because I want them to live in that potentiated state that you're talking about here.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up because that's where I was going to bring that up actually.
Cool.
Because that's a key utility of the imagination. Is think about that example you just gave. I'm in a hard pressed football game or sport, whatever, but I'm approaching it in the way that like, bro, like this is kind of like young Spartan warriors training for battle. This is like battle, and how much more meaning does that provide through an imaginative act by just taking base reality and sprinkling out a little bit of imaginative, seasoning on it, right? Where it's like, and that's the thing that I was going to bring up about me and my personal life was like, like we mentioned, I've always kind of had this imaginative side. And I was like, man, what would it be like to be an ancient warrior, donning armor and going into battle like I've read about. And then I would go to football practice and be like, these shoulder pads kind of look like armor, and I'm putting on a helmet like a knight, or a Spartan. And it's like, what I'm bringing that up for is to say, like, reality does, in a base kind of way, reflect that imaginative world.
For sure.
And so it's in those connections that I was able to find vast amounts of meaning in very hard times, very stressful times, because I just sprinkled a little bit of imaginative seasoning on it and things that reflected it.
A little bit of fairy dust.
Yeah, bro. I mean, it sounds silly.
Heck no, it doesn't.
Okay, good,
I hope
good.
not. If you're listening, and that sounds silly, reach out to us and we will love to work with you, man.
Bro, like when we first met, what was I always on? I was always on that Viking music.
Yeah.
Like straight up.
Oh, dude.
Firecracker
stuff.
Indiscernible. Yeah. But I was really big on that energy, that energy of a berserker in a Viking tribe, storming the walls of a fortress of Saxons.
Absolutely.
To take it over. And it's like, it maybe that's something too, like the imaginative ability to take that imaginal form, which is like Viking warriors, and place it on top of real world, which is like, okay, we're going to the weight room to lift for football. Mm-hmm. It provides the meaning and energy to get through hardship, because that's what I got from it all the time.
Welcome to being powerful, bro.
Yeah.
There it is. That's the difference between power and force.
There you go.
You're not defined by the linear. You're defined by the non-linear.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you just said, what this means to me.
Yeah.
Which in turn will create an emotional state that empowers positive belief.
Yeah.
Which will create the ability to affect well, creating good feeling tones, back into meaning, into motivation.
Yep.
I bet you were more motivated.
For sure.
When it meant that to you.
Yeah. I mean, and I know you're right, because I've been there and I felt it. Like and working out is the best thing. Working out sucks, bro. Like, yeah, it sucks. If you're actually doing it right, it should suck. It should suck. And it's not something that, unless you're...
but if you believe that suckness...
Right.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Send it.
Like the only footnote is, unless you're a borderline masochist like David Goggins, but even him, I mean, the belief system for that is the callousing of the mind. Like,
for sure, yeah.
But he's chasing after suffering. Right. That's a footnote. There's probably a very, very small minority of people.
Yeah.
But for the vast majority of people, yes, working out sucks. Bettering yourself physically sucks if you're doing it the right way. But like you said, the motivation, the meaning, the energy is there to get through that suck if you're able to put I think it's more maybe a lens, just an imaginative lens on the reason why you're doing it. If I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to go lift 5 days a week because my doctor said I need to lose 15 pounds, is that motivating? I mean, maybe if you value life to this, like if you don't lose 15 pounds, you're going to die. I mean, and that's kind of living by fear, right? That's not good. That's not strong. Or I'm getting up at 4 a.m. because that's what Leonidas did before he, to go train before he led his army into the self-sacrificial battle of the Persian, the Battle of Thermopylae.
So cool.
I don't know.
So cool. I mean, and it goes. I keep thinking about the episode with Frasier. Like, to understand those metaphors, like you have to imagine. Like you literally have to be able to imagine. Otherwise, it's not gonna. The story is not. You're just gonna watch a story.
Yeah.
But if you watch the story and then imagine what the meaning behind that story is, bro, like that just hits different, man.
Yeah. And I want to take it back to like where you're at with it and what you're trying to do with your therapy. It's like, I got a kid that, I suck at math. I got to get, I don't like school. And it's like, bro, but what if we looked at it like, no, you're a warrior. Like you're not meant to be doing stuff in the classroom. Like you're a blacksmith, bro. Like I look at our welding class and I see all the kids that like are so like, and I love it. Like we have a really good welding class, and like the people that do that stuff over there, they got a brand new building, CTC or whatever. Cool. But I'm like, bro, like there's the spirit of the medieval blacksmith that wanted to craft swords in you, and it's like, you can't make weapons in class, but you can learn that craft.
Absolutely.
And it's like, but if someone forced me to take a welding class and I didn't have that imaginative lens on it. Like I know Frazier because he's great at this. If someone came to Frazier in high school and said, bro, you have to take this welding class to pass, he'd be like, cool. I'm going to look at it like I'm a medieval blacksmith and I'm learning my trade so that I can go start making armor and swords for soldiers. And he probably would eventually do it. Like go buy his own kiln or whatever you need and anchor and start making armor on his own. I know he would do it.
Dude.
But I don't know if that approach makes sense.
It always does, Anthony. Always. So I'll share one that I think ties in well to this. So did you know that if you are trying to influence someone to become more physically healthy and you tell them the CDC says that you should exercise 100 to 150 minutes a week and you will be healthy, they are less likely to participate in the activity than if you helped them believe in the value and the effort and all the positive benefits that come from the physical activity itself.
Yeah.
So because if you tell someone you got to do 100, 150 and they don't do it, what do they now believe about themselves?
Oh, they're not good enough. Like, I'm not good enough. I didn't do it right, or I'm not me. It's like that guilt.
Thank you. Now, what if you help them believe that through the effort, they will cultivate a more healthier version of self? You're not putting a nomenclature to it, man. You're just saying, hey, fall in love with the process, fall in love with the effort, fall in love with the ability and the cultivation of becoming a healthy person. And if you don't hit it this week, hit it next week and keep hitting it and keep going and keep grinding and keep going and keep grinding.
Because you're more focused on the beneficial outcome of the potential
rather than being told what you should do.
Yep.
And I wanted to, this is so important, dude. Like this is where your theory and my theory collides is the unconscious and the conscious, right? Like make sure everything that you're believing right now, you have developed yourself.
Yeah.
Because if they've been developed for you, that is unconscious living.
Yeah.
That is running through by your programs.
Yeah.
So that's why we have conscious-based performance.
Yeah.
Is because what we do is we help you become aware of why you believe the way you believe and make sure that you are the one who has developed those.
I love that because I think I've told you, like I've done that a lot in my life. Like had to just kind of take a step back and be like, why do I think what I think is true? What because I read it from this guy.
That takes hard work, dude.
Yeah, and figuring out what I think is true because I think it's true.
Yes,
and that involves work, like going out into the world. Like a lot of times when I come upon a new idea, and it just lights this fire in me, I automatically go out into the world and I just have it in the back of my head and I go, okay, test it against reality. Is it true? How does it make you feel? How does it make others feel?
And learn.
And watch. Instead of just believing, well, I know this to be true because I read it from someone,
that causes a lot of friction between people.
For sure. And what I did was like, I took at one point, this was years ago, I took my top 5 favorite, most influential authors on me and who I've read at that time. And I just I wrote their names and I listed out the ideas about them that I liked, that I thought were true. And I saw what matched up between the 5 of them. That was cool to see, like, okay, there's a recurring pattern between some people that I've never even met, different time periods. But then I was like, but what if this is me? Like, where am I in this? Like, I see Carl Jung, and that's what Carl Jung believed. But what does Anthony believe? Okay, and if I do believe what he said, I better make sure that I actually believe it because I've experienced it or seen it or tested it.
There you go.
So
that's huge, man. And everything ties back to mindset.
For sure.
That has been the entire, for the past hour and 20 minutes, we've been trying to show how we can cultivate a powerful mindset.
Yep. Because
in my world, the mindset is the interval and the interface between the unconscious and the conscious. In your world, it's imagination.
Yeah.
But in order for those to work together, man, we've got to be able to understand that there's so much more to us than what we think we are.
Mm-hmm. Focusing on that potential instead of the actual.
That was a really good one too.
That was good. Yeah. I just think that's like, what more empowering message do you want? Like, I know you're frustrated. I know you're down. Whatever, you got your own problems that you're going through. But instead of focusing on that, why don't we shift, open up those floodgates, bro? Open up the floodgates of imagination and realize what could you be? Like, and don't limit that. Mm-hmm. What could you be? You know, and like, also, I think what helps with this too is like broadening your horizons, and as far as like going out and trying to learn about other people that have done crazy things, maybe not even things you want to do. Like, I think about people that have completely changed their careers at 40 or gone back to school at 40, you know, and completely changed their lives at a time when, you know, people listening and the rest of the world would probably say, oh, it's too late for you. You know, like it's never too late.
Never, bro.
You can, I say this all the time, like your whole life could change in a year for the positive or the negative, you know, and that doesn't matter at what point in your life you're at. There's people that have gone back to college at 80, you know. It's
never too late to enjoy and experience life in the best way possible. Experience.
Yes.
Because remember, the ultimate pill is built off improving the quality of the life experience through self-knowledge. And for the past hour and however long minutes, we've been talking about how developing self-knowledge is done through imagination and beliefs. And wouldn't you know, dude, and I was waiting till the end to talk about this, wouldn't you know that measure of performance 2 is meaning, value, and belief?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, right?
MOP2, yep.
Because I've now been able to say that meaning is the motive, value is the quality, belief is the reward. And when you can imagine that believing in a more powerful way will bring a better reward, because, hey, we humans, we like rewards. What a cool way to think about it, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So meaning is the motive, value is the quality, belief is the reward. Yeah. And if we can believe that our efforts will bring forth good rewards, I think that's a cool way to live.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share a very personal visual exercise that I do that eradicates fear, because I think that's probably a really good way to trail this one out, is that fear is, I would assume, one of the main components of developing these powerful belief systems. Fear in the unknown, fear in what if it doesn't happen, fear in just all the, what are people going to think about me when I change, fear. And when you pick apart fear, and I think I've talked about this in the past, it all goes back to the fear of death.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really cool imagination activity, a creative imagination activity that I promise you, it's not, what's that word that like means like it's like gory or death, like, oh my, what's that? Either way, it's not like, man, what is that word? That's actually interesting right now. I can't remember it.
Like glorifying like horror of death, like.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell word it is.
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, either way. Hey, it's not that word, all right? It's not that word.
Whatever that word is.
Yeah, if you need,
it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there. Put it in the comments if you listen to the Ultimate Pill and tell us what that word is. But it's like, it's not glorifying death at all.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever that word is again. So, I thought about it when you talked early on about in typical text that you read, the unconscious is typically a vast ocean, right? Mm-hmm. Or it's always associated with water. And I remember the first time I did this, and it was like, I felt the fear, man. And I had to do this quite a few times to get to the point to where it just reminds me, like, there really is more to you than you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
So have fun with this, y'all. Again, this is the Ultimate Pill. We're very vulnerable. We share things we are in this experience with you. Like, we are constantly doing things to show ourselves that there's more to us than we can ever imagine. But it starts, I'm on a beach, man. I'm on a beach and the ocean is just pure glass, pure glass, pure glass. And I walk out and I could walk on water. It's pretty cool. Like, I could walk on water in my imagination, man. Like, that's fun. You know what I mean?
Hold on.
Go ahead, man.
That's true. Because everybody I've been reading about, like all those Sufis, you know, in the Middle East that talk about the imaginal realm and going there. That's literally one of the, I just read that last night. One of the qualities about the imaginal world is that people can walk on water.
Cool. So you could do it too, y'all. Like it's going to take a lot of belief in the process, right? It's going to take a lot of belief that you can cultivate your abilities through this effort that we're describing and having a very growth oriented mindset, but try to walk on water in your imaginal world, man. It's really fun. It's like really empowering. You're like, wow, I'm literally walking on water right now. This is cool. Like I'm walking on water right now in my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But hey, man, I'm walking and a hole opens in the ocean and I look down into it and I dive in and then the hole closes. Like I'm underwater, y'all. And the first time I did this, I felt myself wanting so bad to go back to the surface and get a breath. I think I probably had to go get a breath a couple of times. But I kept telling myself, you're not going to die. 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 Over and over. And next thing I knew, I was swimming underwater and the fear of dying went away. And now it gets to the point to where I go in that little cavern, whatever that may be, it closes, and then I kind of dissolve, y'all. And then it's just the ocean. So try that exercise. Try that, y'all.
Yeah.
Start on a beach, walk on water, hole opens up, dive in, and then tell yourself you're not going to drown.
It's good.
And then
become the ocean.
Become the ocean. And I hope not only will that tell you that there really is more to you than you think you are. Like maybe you're not just this ego that's trying to keep you alive, very survival instinct, very me against the world. And then just understand that, holy smokes, man, there's something in me that's keeping me alive that isn't that body.
Yeah.
Because that body's down there in that water swimming away.
Yeah.
I'm not a fish.
Yeah. Well, that's what that exercise made me think of was, and I've been trying to do it, bro. When you realize the potentials of this imaginative power that we have in the world that it has access to, you realize that in much the same way that we've been talking about in the internal calcification and rigidity of our ideas of who we are, that we are confined by the boundaries of this physical form.
Absolutely.
And what that exercise does is to me was an imaginative process of devolving those boundaries.
Absolutely.
And just becoming, like you said, the ocean,
expanding,
and not identifying with the wave, but realizing that you're the ocean you're the ocean underneath the wave. That is the wave,
for sure. And then swim to the bottom of the ocean and open the treasure chest.
There you go.
But that's I'll leave it at that.
Okay,
whatever,
that's good.
Whatever that
like
treasure,
that, bro.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Find that treasure.
It's down there, I promise.
One thing that, because I see what you're saying with the fear of death and how that ties into that exercise.
For sure.
And that's one thing that was really impactful for me. Like I don't have a fear of death anymore because I did have a very, very vivid experience in a meditative state where I was under the impression that I was being ripped from my body and I was fighting it. This was college.
That's crazy.
Age. I was fighting it so hard, struggling. I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I really thought I was dying. I really thought I was dying. And I remember the process of the thoughts in my head. It was, okay, you're dying. These are the circumstances that you're going to die under. This is how your parents will find you. And there's nothing you can do about it now. And when I realized that, I just said, all right. And I let go. And then it just took off. But ever since that, it might seem trivial, but ever since then, for me, I felt like that was an imaginative exercise in that process of dying. Like, bro, I think a lot of times the reason why we have...
That was for sure, by the way.
Yeah. I think a lot of times why we have like haunted ghosts that are still here on this realm, it's because people in their lifetime weren't prepared for that moment and are still clinging to this world and reality in the physical. And they've not been able or been prepared to let go. Like I feel like a lot of death is letting go. And a lot of the ancient philosophers, like they would, I forget the exact terminology, but they would have called themselves like philosophers of death because their whole meaning and value beliefs of what they did was to prepare you to die well. Not in a heroic way, but to be able to cross that threshold. Because they, you know, like the Greeks, like Plato, Socrates, they fully believed like there was life after death. The spirit or consciousness went on. And so it wasn't about, well, what about what's after? It was more about the crossing of that threshold and preparing for that. And that's something that, man, that could be its own episode, because I feel like we're not prepared for that culturally anymore. You know, it doesn't get talked about a lot.
So, man, I don't want to end this one. So one more is, and I'll let you rip on it real quick. We're so good up there. What's up, y'all? If you guys have hung around this long, man, thank you.
Real ones.
Yeah, you're the real ones. So, I was reading about the archetype of the fool, and then obviously I know the hero. Do you know the archetype of the fool? Okay.
He always precedes the hero.
Believe that it's okay to be a fool.
Yep.
Believe that it's okay to be a fool. And what does the archetype of the fool mean by that? Okay. We all have to start somewhere. And we all have to understand that we may look silly. We may look different. We may look awkward. But if we face that path with gratitude and humility, then before we know it, we'll be on the path of the hero.
Yep.
And like Anthony just said, and thank you for saying that, the fool precedes the path of the hero. So therefore, believe that, yes, I can develop my abilities. I can become a better person. I can show that I am something special in this world. At first, you may look like a fool.
It's probably guaranteed.
It's probably guaranteed, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it is guaranteed. Because episode 1, we looked like a fool.
Yeah.
And now we're on a heroic journey. So be grateful in the process, be humble in the process, and know that the more effort you put in, the more challenge you take on, the more learning that you do, you will become the hero of your own life experience. And that comes with the type of mindset that we carry, because our mindset is our beliefs.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think the fool is the archetypal representation of everything we've talked about in this episode, in the sense that we've talked so much individually about the individual endeavor and the external endeavor of breaking past the boundaries and confines of our beliefs. And that is exactly what the fool does. The fool is not confined by the cultural or social or the courtly rules and conducts and confines and boundaries that everybody else is. The fool is a fool because he's able to mock and call out things that no one else wants to talk about. The fool is a fool because he's able to explore things that people deem as silly. So literally that is the archetypal representation of that opening we've been talking about, to have the imaginative ability, to have the right mindset to become your potential and everything we've been talking about. It's good. And I'll just end with this, because I had a dream that was really impactful a couple weeks ago, and I've been really chewing on it, bro. And I think I finally figured out how it pertains to my life, and I've been trying to implement it. But I became conscious of the dream when I was in this nice suburban neighborhood. I was out on the streets, and I was running, and I could jump, and I could fly, and I was soaring, and I would like soar through the air for a little bit and come back down. And I remember thinking, like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I can fly. And I kept doing it. I kept running and jump, and I could soar and fly, and I was so light. But after the first couple jumps, and kept thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm flying. But this thought came across. I don't know if it was another voice or entity, but the thought came across, don't think about it too much or you won't be able to do it. And it's like Inception, because once that idea was planted in my head, I started overthinking it. And I was like, okay, like I'm running, and I'm like, okay, make sure you're light. Make sure you're not thinking about it too much. And I would try to jump, and it was getting less high. And then I'm just thinking about it more and more. And I'm like, okay, you're thinking about it too much. Stop thinking about it too much. And then I was thinking about not thinking about it. And like the final jump, I couldn't do it. And I was like, oh, I can't fly. And then the dream ended, and I woke up. But in pertinence to my life, that ability to fly and to be light and soar through the air, and the joy I had for the first couple jumps when I was doing it, bro, like, you know me, like I'm constantly reading, I'm constantly kind of, and we talked about this when we first met, like not being a nominist, and I really feel like I have defeated a lot of that in me. But where I'm at now in that when I felt like that dream was telling me was, you're trying to tap into this imaginative ability that you have, and the infinite potential that we all have in our minds, but you're thinking about it too much. Just be it.
Yes, you said it.
Just be it. And that's what I got from maybe we could fly if we didn't think about it so much.
Don't do it. Just be it.
And don't think about it. Just be it.
Just be it.
So I've been right after I came to that realization, bro, kid you not, and I'll show it to you. I stepped outside from the office and just for 15 minutes. I went and I got a notepad and a pencil and I closed my eyes and I just started drawing with my eyes closed. And anytime I felt like I was directing the hand, I would stop and let the hand direct. And I just scribbling, falling. It felt good. Like I just didn't think about what I was drawing, didn't think about what it was creating. I would let images appear, and I'll show you the drawings, but it was pretty freaking crazy. I think I drew like my shadow, demonic like side representation. I drew like this giant, what looks like an owl with like 600 wings. It was like an angel. But that was a cool, I don't know why I thought of that, but I felt like that was a good practice of just being it. Don't think about what I'm drawing. Don't even think about what my hand's doing. I'll let the hand lead. And I close my eyes and I let my hand lead the paper, you know, and some of it was nonsense, but some of it made forms. So,
ladies and gentlemen, believe what you can become. Believe that you're something special. Believe that your efforts are worth your time. And then just go out there and be it.
Yep.
And then just watch what happens.
Yep.
Just watch what happens. Like with this show, like I put in one of our social posts today, I said, honestly, and whatever may come of this, we don't understand. But I do know that it provides Anthony and I something very meaningful. And at the end, that's all that's going to matter.
Yep.
What is the meaning that we had with our life?
Yep.
And that starts with how we're believing about what we can become.
Yep.
And I hope, and I'm not going to speak for Anthony because I'm going to give him the mic to close this one out. I hope, because it helped me. I hope that episode 43 helped you develop a better mindset for your experience of this life.
Yeah, it's good. I think that's a good way to, all I'll say is what I've been trying to reiterate this whole show, which is stop limiting yourself, stop living by these self-constructed confines of who you are and what you could be. Stop focusing on the actual, focus on the potential, and go out there and be it, bro. And don't think about it too much like I do. Just go be it. Don't think about it. Just go be it. And let's go, bro.
Let's go, man. Hey, love y'all. Check us out on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Like the shows, subscribe to the shows. Oh yeah, and Amazon Music. Yeah, my bad. Like the shows, follow the shows, subscribe to the shows.
Instagram, find us on Instagram.
Instagram, Ultimate Pill. Facebook, Ultimate Pill Podcast. Yeah.
You want to plug your TikTok, Conscious Counselor?
Nah.
Okay.
Nah, we're good.
I want to plug Colleen for the studio, bro.
I want to plug Haley for supporting and letting us do this, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks to both of them, but yeah thanks to I just want to plug Colleen, bro, for doing this for us. I just felt like grateful while we were doing this. It was like pretty cool that she did this.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, she knows that, and make sure Haley knows that, and we just want to make sure that for those of you who hung out with us, thanks, man. Like when we're gonna lift you up with us for sure.
For sure.
We're gonna definitely lift you up with us. Love y'all so much. Have a great week. Till next time. Love y'all.